Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter. Today, we're brought to you by our friends at Time to Pet and Pet Perennials. One of the biggest struggles and hurdles as somebody new to the business, and even some people who've been in the business for a long time, is the kind of mindset we carry with us. Are we really having a business mindset? Are we really thinking about what we do as a business and how we operate and how we run the policies, procedures, and everything in between? There really is a shift that we have to make at some point. And we're really excited to be talking about this topic today with a returning guest, Rachelle Steele from Loving Arms Pet Services. She was previously back on with us on episode 419. So you can pause listening right now and just go back and listen to that episode and then come back to this. But Rachelle, I'm really excited to be speaking with you again and talking about this topic. For those who haven't listened to that episode and aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Rachelle Steele. I'm based out of Kansas City, Missouri. I'm coming up on 4 years now running my business. And I do, since our last episode, I've been promoted from foster coordinator with my Shiba Inu Rescue Association to vice president. So I do that in my quote unquote spare time and supporting our foster teams and all of our volunteers in whatever roles they need.
I love that. And I always see you posting photos of Shiba, and you've got one yourself, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Yes, Hikari is my little judging princess.
They give the best side eyes, don't they?
They do. When people are like, is your dog friendly? No, she'll judge you.
Just do right. We have a new corgi puppy, and so we are just getting ingratiated to this bombastic side eye, this judgmental from around the corner, and I'm like, I've never felt so bad. Oh my goodness, I get it.
And she does not like to be pet, and people do not understand why is my dog not like to be petted, and why she must be skittish or nervous or aggressive or whatever. And no, she just, like me, doesn't want strangers running up to her, touching her.
Yeah, and shocking, right? It's weird.
Right? I know. She's cute as can be. She's soft as can be, but she has boundaries, and she is very good at establishing those boundaries and saying, no, thank you.
I love that. And that's good. And it's, we have to protect that too. And I think that's a reminder of just like, we get to be the voice, like, even with our own pets, like it's so critical to just, because people don't understand about why that's important to, and not pushing dogs in that area.
We have to advocate for them because not everyone understands that pets have feelings and emotions too.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you've been in business coming up, you said 4 years. Is that right? In July, 4 years. And I was, in kind of thinking about this topic of business mindset or, hobby mindset kind of stuff. What was that like for you getting into business? And did you think of it as a business right from the get-go, or is that something that had to evolve with yourself?
Good question. I planned in 2019 my 5-year plan was to quit my full-time high-end furniture sales job in 2024 and start a pet sitting. It was actually in my mind going to be boarding and daycare out of my home. And that was going to be my quote unquote semi-retirement job, and be able to play with animals all the time and set my own schedule and everything, and not work corporate and retail anymore after many years of retail. And so I had to come up with a plan. How do I do that? How do I make that a reality? And I needed to pay off debts. I knew I needed to stockpile money. I wanted money in a savings account in case things didn't take off as I had hoped, in case something happened. I mean, who knew 2020 was coming and all that was going to be? But it was in my mindset. I wanted to pay off debts. I wanted to remodel the house to get it set up for boarding and daycare and get all that done. And I figured it would take me about 5 years to do that. The good news is it didn't. It only took me about 1.5 years to get where I wanted to be as far as paying off all my debts. The big mindset of just focus and throwing money at the bills and and the credit cards and everything. And then January of 21, I was, okay, now what? I'm really far ahead of plan. And so I stockpiled money, and June 30th, I was laying in bed going, what if I got on Rover and just kind of tested it out? And I'll do pet sitting in other people's homes and dog walking and just kind of see what happens. Lo and behold, my background check came back overnight. Very surprising to me. I know there's nothing in my background for their too stally background check, but it was my first glimpse into the apps not being as they appeared to be. And so that pushed a little pause in my mind, but I pressed forward, and I got with friends and family and online support and threw out some possibilities of a name and got my LLC. And my first client was July 4th weekend. So I just jumped right in and started figuring it out. I did name the business Loving Arms Pet Services, knowing that someday it might encompass more than just pet sitting or dog walking. I wanted it to be an umbrella and not have to change my name again. And yeah, it's evolved. I am not doing boarding in my home. I am not doing daycare. I initially thought I would be doing dog walking. Great way to burn calories, have fun with dogs, enjoy the weather, be outside. Then I remembered I don't like being outside in the humidity, in the pollen, in the ice. So dog walking quickly went to the back burner, and in-home pet sitting became my focus. And also realizing that in-home pet sitting, I was mainly doing vacation care because this was summer of 21 after everything started opening up. And people went to call their former pet sitters who were no longer in the business because they didn't survive. They didn't have an emergency fund or a contingency plan. So I got really busy really quickly. And by September of 21, so 2 months later, I quickly realized I'm going to have to make a choice of either not taking clients for the pet sitting jobs or quit my job. And 18 years at my job, but I was going to have to do one or the other because I could no longer do both. And I talked to 5 of my friends and family members that I knew would be honest and not blow smoke, and they could not give me a reason to stay at my full-time job. I had everything lined up and ready to go, and so I gave notice October 1st, and November 1st went full-time solo pet sitting.
When did it start feeling like a business to you, though?
When I quit my job.
Okay.
I had no safety net at that point. I mean, I had my emergency fund at that point. I think I had a 9-month emergency fund. So I could pay my bills for 9 months if I had $0 coming in. And I think that was an important thing that a lot of people in the groups I see don't have that. And they don't have money stockpiled for what if. What if this takes longer than expected? What if something happens and we have another pandemic, or I have an injury or illness? Or they don't. And then I think also that's where I see people struggle is they take clients or jobs and thinks that they shouldn't because they have to pay their bills. And I get it. We have to be able to pay our bills. We have to have a living, but then you have to fire those clients later. And that's even more difficult than just saying no in the beginning for most people. So having that money stockpiled gives you a lot of freedom, and you can be really picky on who you bring into the business.
Yeah. Well, because when we first start out, there is that I have to take on everybody all the time. And I don't care if they're 45 minutes away or an hour away. I've got to do them because I've got to bring in some money. And when we can slow down, and that's what that emergency fund does, whether it's 9 months, 6 months, or just 3 months, or 1 month, something to allow you to have some breathing room where you go, it's okay if I say no, because that's where we really do struggle. We say, if I say no, I'm not just saying no. Sure, I'm saying no for my mental health, but I'm also saying no to being able to put food on my table. And that seems kind of counterintuitive. And so to be able to slow that down and really make sure you're nurturing good, healthy growth in the beginning. So you don't, I do think many people think I've got to go through this flash in the pan burnout phase. We'll ramp up really fast and then I'll notch it back down later. That's what I'll do. I'll notch it back down later. Well, I can tell you that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later, very rarely does it come back down.
Exactly. So you've got to set those, know what you want and what you don't want, what you're going to accept or not going to accept from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then hold true to it. And having that emergency fund gave me the ability to go, yeah, this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to say no. Yeah. And having that boundary. So from the very beginning, I think of me quitting my job and doing this full time, it felt like a business. And there were times that I was like, oh, I so could take this client. But something in me says I shouldn't. And to just listen to my gut. And then, yes, when you tell a client no and then they berate you, you're like, oh, there it is. That's why I had that gut feeling. And I'm glad I stuck to it. Because it gets harder down the road to let them go. And I also look at my clients as, they are my bosses, essentially. So is this a boss that I want to work for? Is this a boss that's communicating with me well? Is this a boss that I can be open with when I go, Fluffy doesn't seem like he's acting normal today? Are they going to accept that reasonably, or are they going to think I'm being accusatory or calling them neglectful? And it's like, no, you see Fluffy every day. I haven't seen Fluffy in 3 months. This is not normal. It is, something that maybe snuck up. But I tell my clients in a meet and greet, I'm going to have difficult conversations with you. I'll tell you that right now. And I hope that you can understand if I'm having a difficult conversation with you, it's because I respect you and I love your pet and I need you to hear me. And, I will do that over a phone call. I'm not going to do it over text unless it's an emergency. I'm not going to put it in an update. I'll just, when they get home, I'll say, hey, can we have a chat? And sometimes I need to go over in person and have that conversation with them. But I want to have all of those thoughts and conversations in the beginning and setting those expectations up with my quote unquote new boss in the beginning. So that way, should that time come, we have that open dialogue and availability of communication to have that conversation.
That's really important because a lot of, just thinking about our clients who come to us, they've never had that kind of relationship with a professional before. They use friends, families, neighbors, acquaintances. They've used hobbyists. They've used facilities who don't have that kind of conversation, don't have the kind of conversations. They don't have that kind of in-depth experience and knowledge to talk to them about. And there are times where I'll put it this way. Sometimes I've come to Megan and go, are we too honest? Like, are we too, is that what the problem is? Like, because if people don't expect you to give them that kind of information, it can come across as being confrontational. It can come across as accusatory, and reminding them, hey, you hired a professional. Here's what I bring to the table. I am going to tell you hard things because that's what I view my duty as. And I want to work with you to overcome those. Setting those kind of expectations for how communication is going to take place. I think oftentimes we think of, just tell them you communicate over text, or you communicate over your app or your email or phone calls. No, you need to tell them how, what kind of communication they're going to get. It's way more than just the dog pooped and peed and I got the mail. It's and many people don't expect to get that. So sometimes they don't know how to even juggle that or what to do with that information.
Yes, I'm a very end result. I go jump to the end and then work backwards type of a person. And so I would rather have the conversation now with them and their 3-month-old puppy in the planning of when this dog is 12. And, I've known it its whole life. If I have to have a difficult conversation with you, we're going to have that conversation. So I'd rather set that up in the beginning. And then they know, and I tell people, if I'm seeing your cat and I tell you in a visit report that the cat puked, I'm not complaining. I'm going to clean it up. I'm just noting it for the file, just in case. If you're like, Fluffy never pukes, then that's a concern. And if I notice, that Fluffy has been puking every day and you're like, he doesn't do that, then we're having that open conversation. And I can take Fluffy to the vet, or we can do whatever we need to do. But just telling them, worst case scenario, this is how we're going to have the communications. And if they don't want that, I had to let a client go who did not respond to updates for her whole trip, 7 to 10 days. When I asked if the dog had diarrhea when they left, because my first visit, he had diarrhea, didn't have a change of food. Do you want me to do pumpkin? Do you want me to, do anything? Is this normal? And no response. When she got home, I had to let her go because that was disrespectful to me and to her pet.
We have to have that kind of teamwork because that's what we're doing. Right? Yes, they are a boss, but there's someone we're going to work with, and we do expect things from them. And that really is a different kind of relationship, a different kind of communication style. How else do you think your approach in coming in with this business mindset, how else do you think that influenced how you operate your business, from services to pricing and everything in between?
Yeah, for prices, it made a big difference because I knew what I needed to make to pay my bills and have not drain my emergency fund, have money to do the things that I want to do. And so my pricing looked a lot different. I did not, like many people do, I did not go online and look at other pet sitters in my area and figure out what their prices were. It didn't matter what their prices were if their prices wouldn't pay my bills. So I had to come up with, this is what I'm going to charge. And then I looked at everybody else's prices and went, ooh, this might be a little difficult because my prices are more than what the sitters on Rover were. And I got off Rover pretty quickly just because I wasn't, I didn't like giving them 20% of my money, first of all. But I didn't like what they stood for. And I didn't think that they were the professionalism that I wanted. So I don't knock anybody for getting on there because it's a great way to test out, is this for me before I quit my job or not? But my prices were substantially more than, and are still more than, what a lot of even other professionals in my area will charge. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that because I offer more than that. And I'm worth more than that. And I also like having time off. I don't like working 10-hour days. The other day I had to work 5 hours in a row and it was like, oh my gosh, spring break about killed me because that's not what I normally do, because I do value my time off. And this is my quote unquote semi-retirement. So I want to be able to go sit in a park with my dog and watch the world go by. And I want to be able to do the things that I want to be able to do. And if I only want to work X amount of hours a week, I had to figure out, what do I need to charge to be able to do that?
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Doug from Bad to the Bone Pet Care has this to say.
Time to Pet has made managing my team and clients so much easier. Our clients love the easy-to-use app and scheduling features, and our sitters love being able to have all of their information organized and easily accessible. My favorite feature is the instant messaging. By keeping conversations on Time to Pet, we are able to monitor our team and ensure nothing ever falls through the cracks.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show will save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. I need to make that phrase a t-shirt. It doesn't matter what their prices were if they don't pay my bills, because that is such a wonderful way of putting just the hard reality of what the process of, okay, we'll go look at other people and then base off of that, do the market. What that's doing is you're allowing other people to dictate your earning potential and your lifestyle, instead of going, no, do the math, figure this out. And then your job then is, beholden on you, is to then market, message, and work your business in such a way to make people see the value that they get. That's it.
Yep.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
it's I don't think, if you think of it from like this is a high end sports car, like they don't sit down, we think of this, Porsche doesn't sit down and go, what are Toyota Corollas selling for these days? What are the
Exactly.
Nope, they make the car and then they market it to the people that can afford it, right? Yeah.
And I was thinking about that this morning. I can't think of the last Maserati commercial I've seen.
Mm.
Or Aston Martin, Bentley. They're still around. They're making money. They're selling their cars. They don't defend their pricing. They're like, here it is. And to a point, yes, I will try to sell a client. If they're talking about a $5 difference, but I had a lady reach out the other day. I was 3 times what she was used to spending. I'm like, okay, not a problem. I would definitely reach back to that other sitter. I'm not going to defend my pricing or try to sell her on why, if she was happy with that person, then go back to them, or whatever you got to do. But I'm not going to defend my pricing, because I will defend my peace, and I will defend my personal choices and my lifestyle before I'll defend my pricing.
That, man, I'll defend my piece before I defend my pricing. Man, Rachelle, I'm running out of room to write stuff down already, and we're not that long, but it really is. I have those moments where I still do get anxious on the phone when someone, because they'll call and they're just like, "Hi, are you who? Tell me about your company." And then either the first or second question is, "How much does this cost?" Right? It's like you feel the tightening, you feel your heart racing. Like just for those listeners, just think about this. I called you and I say, "How much do you charge?" What's your response going to be to that? Is it boldly saying, well, yeah, I charge $30 a visit for my 30-minute visits, or whatever you charge, and here's what you get, and here's who I am, right? Like that's, sometimes you have to just we've decided we have to just say plainly what we do and what comes with it. And then it's the client's decision to figure out if that's what's going to work for them and how they work. Because you're right. At the end of the day, if they go, man, I was really hoping to pay 20. Okay, go find somebody for 20. I can't do that. It's not what we do. And so there really becomes like, at what point do you find that? What suggestions, Rachelle, would you give to somebody they got into this for the love of animals, and because they were passionate about animals and they love animals. What advice would you give to somebody who's struggling with this switch into the business owner mindset or running a business aspect?
I would suggest that if they didn't have previous business experience as far as running a business as if it were your own, even though it wasn't, then to reach out to your local, ask your local chamber, see if you have SCORE. They're a great small business mentoring leadership. There are resources in your area, and we have online. I don't know if Mastermind has classes, but I'm sure they do, on how to start a small business and start it running effectively and efficiently, and how to do the bookkeeping and how to come up with pricing and all of that. If you have always been a behind the scenes employee or an employee at a job that you weren't making decisions, you weren't having hard conversations with clients or with other employees, you need to find the resources to teach you how to do that. And reading, listening to podcasts. I just checked my podcast history the other day, or listening history, my Audible history the other day, and in the last 2 years, I think it was, I've listened to over 200 hours. That's a lot of books and a lot of podcasts and everything. But we spend a lot of time in the car. May as well make it useful. Yeah. And it's not just getting the knowledge, but then applying the knowledge. Knowledge is not powerful. Knowledge is noise, but applied knowledge is powerful. So how can we apply it? And we have a lot of great business coaches for pet sitting, but maybe we've got to find one that's not a pet sitting. Pet sitting is its own unique thing and a service that we provide, but not in its own business. the behind the scenes admin stuff, it's universal. So get the education. YouTube videos, I'm sure, are out there. But educate yourself, because confidence is also key. If you're confident that you're a business owner, you're going to put off that confidence. Then you're going to be able to be more confident in your pricing, in your execution, and telling clients no. But if you are nervous, if you don't like telling clients no, if you are very much a people pleaser, which I think a lot of us pet care providers have that tendency, which is why we also have compassion fatigue, because we don't set boundaries. We've got to learn how to set boundaries and listen to some podcasts, maybe get a therapist, whatever you've got to do to be able to stand up for yourself first, then the business, and then the pets.
That confidence really is foundationally what we're talking about here. And above and beyond like the business structure, I think when we think a lot about running a business, we go, what's the structure? LLC, how do I do my taxes? Because tax time just happened as of this recording, which is fun. Yay. But like, what do quarterly taxes look like? How do I separate my pay, these things? How do I advertise and marketing and branding? All this? We think about that. But what you're really talking a lot about here is that internal growth, that how do I become a leader? Even if I don't ever have employees, I'm leading a company. I'm leading a business. I'm making hard decisions. I'm having difficult conversations with people. I'm networking. I'm building and expanding into my community. I'm putting myself out there. I think that's a big aspect that Megan and I really never fully appreciated about exactly what it meant to run a business, of how outward we personally had to be. We're very private people. And so putting photos and going to places and talking to people, like this is very like, like it's but that
gotta psych yourself up.
Shake it out, like we do the hoorah on the car. And it's like, it does take this, like this starts with me building outward. It doesn't matter the structure, my policies, my cancellation. It doesn't matter my SOPs. That doesn't matter if I'm not in a good position.
Exactly. And to be fair, all that other stuff, there's people that can help you with all that other stuff. You have to help yourself first. And in that, having that confidence, building the confidence, it is a skill that we have to learn, and it's a muscle that we have to work. For me, sometimes I have to, I have a spreadsheet that I keep track of leads coming in and potential clients coming in. And if I start seeing a trend and go, oh, I'm saying no an awful lot, am I being too quick to say no? Because no is my go-to default until you convince me yes should be the answer. And that's not the case for a lot of, our pet care providers, whether they're grooming or pet sitting or dog walking, whatever, because we are tending to be people pleasers. So yes is the default, and we'll deal with the backlash later. So that having that internal growth, like you said, having your personal values in place. And if things don't align, be comfortable saying no and be comfortable hearing no. If a client tells you no, it's nothing personal. They don't know you. It's not a personal attack on you. They're saying no to the price or whatnot. So I guess I would say that would be the other thing, is if you don't have a background in sales, go sell some stuff. Even if it's go ask your local Girl Scout troop leader if you can volunteer and go sit with the Girl Scouts selling their cookies. How many times do they hear no?
Right.
They, and people are mean to 9-year-old little girls, and it's just crazy. But that'll teach you resilience, and that'll teach you persistence. Selling lemonade on the corner with the kids at a lemonade stand, that's sales. But you got to get some sales background too, because we are in sales, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. No, it's just, you mentioned how mean people are to 9-year-old girls. It's amazing. We'll buy every now and then, but I feel bad saying no to them. But some people, they have no qualms yelling at them and whatever they're doing. And it is a reminder of that, what we are doing. Because when you take that phone call, when you get that email or that message on social media, or however you get people coming into your business, you do have to put on your little sales hat and go, okay, I'm in sales mode right now. Not that I have to be it's not hard sales, and I'm not trying to twist people or get them in, or, all this stuff. But you are talking about your business and answering questions to people. Fundamentally, sales. That's all it is. People have questions. I'm going to answer them in a way that will hopefully educate them to go with me or not, right? If they're asking different questions. But that is a thing where we aren't used to doing that at all. And that really is a skill that takes time to learn. So I love how you're saying, instead of learning with your business, go learn in some low stakes areas. Go sit with a friend at a local craft show, or go sit with a vendor and help them set up a booth at this thing, or go volunteer with these areas and just listen and try your hand at this. And it really is a great way to learn. Really, I think more so because we often think of, I have to learn sales. I have to learn what to say or how to say it. It's really, how do I receive what I get back from people?
Well, that, and also when you say something, how is it perceived?
Yeah.
Because perception is reality. It may not be what you intended, but tone can be everything. And one of my growth areas that I've worked on a lot over the years is my face apparently has subtitles. So the words coming out of my mouth can be one thing, but my face says something totally different. So having a poker face is something that I've had to work on, because it's a whole body communication thing. And we have to understand how they're perceiving it. We don't know what their day has been like. So when we say something, they may take it more harshly than we meant. And so that can be learning for us. But then when they say something, if we've had a bad day, we can take it. So, like you said, putting on a different hat. I do have a admin assistant. It's me. But when I am not in a mental frame of mind to deal with a phone call or deal with a text or whatever, I have copy and paste on my phone. That I've got different notes that I can copy and paste of, hey, it's not a good time for me to talk. Here's some bullet points. When's a good time for me to reach out to you or whatnot? And having the ability to take a pause and get in a mindset of, okay, and so if I'm not in a mindset as Rachelle, then my Loving Arms Pet Services team will respond. And I will put a reminder that I need to call this client, after 4 or whatnot. So that's me putting on a different hat of, yes, the business needs to respond, but Rachelle's not in a mindset to respond right now. And it's not going to look pretty if I respond right now, because I just walked into a house and a dog has had accidents everywhere. So it may be a couple hours before I'm in a mindset. So I don't want to ignore them.
Right.
I want them to know I got them, we got the message. I will get back to you. It's just not a great time. And that's also setting a boundary that you can't message me and expect me to respond in 30 seconds every time.
Yeah.
So, kind of setting the communication of, I saw your message. I heard you. I'll get back to you shortly.
Well, speaking of boundaries, I was curious, because this is another big thing that a lot of people struggle with. What are some boundaries that you've had to set that maybe you didn't think you'd have to set when you first started?
I did not realize, and I see a lot of people say this, that I didn't realize how much driving there was going to be. So, I had to set physical boundaries of how much driving I was going to do to go to clients' homes. Where I live, I'm pretty close to a lot of things because I'm right off a freeway. And so I have a time boundary as compared to a mileage boundary of how far it takes to get from my house to a client's house. I have some that are pretty far away mileage, but they're right off the freeway too. So it doesn't take me very long to get there. Where I have others that are 2 miles away, but they have like 15 school zones between my house and here. So it can take me 15 minutes to get there if I leave at the wrong time of day. So that was one that I didn't think of. I kind of thought that people were going to run on a 8 to 5 boundary of reaching out to a business. I didn't realize that people were going to reach out and ask if you're available next weekend at 1 a.m. That may be when they're up, but I'm not. So that was a boundary that I had to explain to clients, that from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I don't I don't get notifications. My phone goes dark, and I don't respond to clients that I am not taking care of their pets until I have a break in the schedule. It will be within 24 hours that I will respond to you, but I'm not going to respond to your vacation request that's 6 months from now faster than I'm going to respond to somebody whose cat I'm going to see in 45 minutes, for example. Yeah. So having to explain to people, don't blow my phone up. I will get to you, I promise. But then that's also where me sending it back, I saw your message, I will get back to you shortly. Yep. And that helps too. So that way they don't feel like they've not been heard.
Yeah, that didn't just go into a void, because that does happen. I mean, how frustrating is it whenever I'm trying to contact a company and it's like, I've sent 5 emails. I don't even get an auto reply. I have no idea. And that's the other thing too, those little short snippets that you have saved in your phone. When you do that, I guarantee you 99% of the time people think it's just an auto reply and they're like, okay, cool, somebody is on this, even though it's us manually copying and pasting it over.
Exactly.
Like they don't know and they don't need to know, but it just helps. I'm buying some space. I'm getting this out there. I'm going to come back to this with a better mindset to have that expectation of communication, because we get that too. I mean, just today we had somebody submit stuff at 2 in the morning, 2:30 or something like that. And they didn't expect us to hear back from us, but it was a reminder of, yeah, people have their own schedule and I have my own, and I don't want to live other people's schedules because I like my sleep and I get very little of it as it is. So I need these setting, what these are boundaries. These are systems that you set up in place to go, okay, where can I shuffle this? Where can I put this? So it doesn't get lost, right? It still moves forward in a system, but it's not overwhelming to me. And I'm not feeling like I'm glued to my phone, because what happens is if we stay up responding to people until 11 o'clock, there's a really good chance that some other person is going to be responding to you. And now you're having a back and forth with more people because you're up and active, and you got to cut it off at some point. There will always be more opportunities to talk to clients. They can wait.
I have also become a huge fan of schedule send, because I do not like to you respond to a client at 9 o'clock at night, but I also don't want to forget in the morning to reply to them. So I will reply to them, and it's so hard. I have such a hard time sometimes remembering what day it is, but then also at 9 o'clock at night when I'm typing good morning on my message, I'm going to auto send. It really messes with your time sometimes too. But then I know I've checked it off my list. I've responded to them, but I'm not going to end up in a conversation at 9:30 at night with somebody that I don't want to be in a conversation with at 9:30.
Yeah.
We can put that off till tomorrow. So schedule send has been a beautiful gift.
Yeah, you're right. Because we can go, well, let me get this off my plate really quick. But if you send, well, you've just taught them, well, you're at your phone. And so if they respond, well, then, okay, well, I have to respond because I just did. Now I'm going back and forth here. It's like, okay, well, that schedule send, oh my gosh, the number of messages that go out at 9 in the morning the next day from us, it's immense. And I love it every time.
Yes. We're really productive at 8 a.m.
Man, we get up knocked out. No, it's just us. But we're so, I'm not letting the clients know. Like, we're working, like we would do work late sometimes. Sometimes we just have to, but I'm not going to break the boundary here. Because if a message comes through, that client knows, okay, I can respond. I can do this stuff. They're up anyway. And you really have to guard that.
Absolutely. And scheduling posts on Facebook has been a beautiful thing. That I'll sit down and schedule a month out at a time. It'll take me an hour or two, but I can schedule a month out at a time. And then I'm done with that. I can knock that off my list for a couple of weeks. So I love to schedule stuff.
How, it talks about how, you love pets. Everybody loves pets who gets into this. There's this emotional side of the business where we want to care for pets. We're invested in them. They really feed us in many ways, and they make us feel, whole and complete. And it really is nurturing, driving to us. But there's this business side that we're talking about. Rachelle, how do you separate out this emotional aspect of the business versus these more business decisions that you just have to make because you're a business owner?
When I'm in the client's home with their pets, I am fully enjoying the pets. and loving on them and doing all the things with them. And then when I go out and I lock the door, then it's back to business. I've got to get back on to my next client, or I've got whatever on my list to do. I also schedule my time, my calendar of when I've figured out when I'm most productive to schedule, like my Facebook posts, when is most productive to just schedule whatever newsletters that I might be sending out or whatever. I know what times of day and what times of the month I'm most apt to be productive for those things. And so I schedule them for me as well. But yeah, when I'm with the pets, I'm with the pets. And I'm, letting them appreciate the day or the cuddles or whatever. So that's kind of the reward for me to all the background work and all the admin stuff and the behind the scenes business part. Some people, when you go work at another company and you go to the break room and everybody's hanging around a water bottle and gossiping or whatever, that's kind of the same thing as when I'm with the pets. I get to love on them and have my downtime and soak up their loves, and then get to go back to work and go do the admin stuff.
Yeah. Well, so those time blocks of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it become really important. Of what hat am I wearing and when am I wearing it? Of going, I can't be admin assistant while I'm also an scheduler and invoicer and marketer while I'm supposed to be playing with a dog in the backyard or scooping a litter box. You just can't. Sure. Can you? Yes, absolutely can. Is that what's best for the pet? No, right? It's not. So here we're going. Right now, I am fully invested emotionally and in full heart in the pet, because that's why I'm here. I'm in their home for them. I'm not here to do my marketing calendar. That's not fair. That's not fair to them, and not what the client wants. So really keeping that forefront in everything that we do. Right? I'm here for the pets, so I need to be here for the pets. And then when I'm not, that's whenever I have time. And just finding those ways to block out. And we can feel anxious sometimes when we're in the pet because we know we've got that phone call we've got to return to. We just have to go, look, I have time after this in my schedule because I put it there, right? Because I scheduled time for this. That's whenever I'm going to respond to this, but I'm going to focus on this right now and give them the best care possible.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to, we have to know how many visits can we do a day in the best possible manner. If you're the only one doing visits and you're trying to run a business and that's a lot. And so making sure that maybe you only do, maybe Wednesdays is really the slowest day on your schedule. So Wednesdays is when you do phone calls or meet and greets or whatever. And, planning out your downtime so you're not trying to get in a phone call in between visits and you start to overwhelm yourself. So making sure that you have enough time in the schedule to be able to do the things that you need to do, the things you want to do, and the things that come up that you didn't see coming, an emergency visit or whatever. You've got to have the time where you're not running yourself ragged so you can walk in the door relaxed. The animals feed off of us. We have to walk in and be ready to give them the loves and attention and whatever they need that day. And we can't do that if we're thinking about, okay, well, in 28 minutes, I've got to call this client. That's not going to work out very well because the dogs will get anxious. The cat's going to attack you, whatever, because they feed off your energy too.
As pet sitters, we're there for the joyful moments and the heartbreaking ones too. When a client loses a pet, finding the right gift can be hard. That's where Pet Perennials comes in. They make it easy to send thoughtful sympathy and milestone gifts with a handwritten card, colorful gift wrap, and shipping across the U.S. and Canada. You choose the gift, they handle the rest. Sign up for a free Gift Perks business account and get discounted pricing with no fees or minimums. Learn more at petperennials.com. Well, often we try and use that drive time to do those admin stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, well, now I'm using my drive time in between visits, which I shouldn't be doing anyway, because it's not safe to be driving and being distracted that way. Because very rarely do you need to be on a phone and only talking. You need to be taking notes. You need to be looking at your phone for other stuff. But then, wow, I'm now doing this while driving. Oh, I'm also not having time to eat. I don't have any other time. What if I have to get another visit in here, make a detour? All these things, like you're saying, you have to plan for when things that not when things go wrong. You have to plan that things will go wrong. If you don't have a life and a business set up to take those shocks, to take those ups and downs, it will break. You will break in those moments, because you can't operate at 150% capacity and then take on 50% more capacity. You just can't. And really going, what space? And that's the biggest, what I'm hearing you talk, Rachelle. It's really, I need space in my day. I've got to find space for my mental health, for myself, and just to get the other things done that I need to as a business.
Yeah, exactly. And if you, going back to where I say I'm the end result and a work backwards type person, if at the end of the day, none of the bad stuff that could have happened, woohoo, it's a win. If the bad stuff that could have happened did happen, woohoo, it was a win because I didn't stress because I had time for it. So either way, it's not going to be a catastrophic day because I planned for the stuff to happen. And that, in my pricing too, I see sometimes in groups, people will ask, how do I tell a client I've got to charge more because I had to spend an extra 30 minutes doing cleanup because the dog had diarrhea or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, I built that into my pricing. I built it into my scheduling that you never know what you're going to walk into. And so if you just plan for it and then it doesn't happen, that's bonus time that you have for yourself to eat, go to the bathroom, sit in the park with your dog, whatever. But if it did happen, you were prepared for it. And so I won't charge for, the extra time in cleaning because 99% of the time I don't have to spend time cleaning with all of the clients. So for this one, it's not that big of a deal. And what's really awesome is when there is a catastrophic mess, a client changes their dog's food the day before they go on vacation.
Love it.
Yes, they tip really well because they appreciate that you spent the extra time. And they know that your time is worth something if you have the ideal clients that understand and value your time and your business. I normally get pretty good tips and everything from them. Say, oh my gosh, thank you. More than I would have gotten for whatever price I would have came up with to charge for it. Yeah. So I would rather let them feel good about, oh my gosh, she did all this and now I don't have to come home to this big old mess or whatever. I need to pay her extra for that. They feel good about it. I feel good because they valued me. It's a win-win. I'm not feeling bad about having to go, hey, so Colin, I had to spend an extra 20 minutes there, which set my whole day behind and, blah, blah, blah. You're going to pay for it. That's not a good feeling. So if you just plan for it ahead of time, then when it happens, it happens.
Yeah,
spit happens.
Yeah, it's that margin in our pricing. It's the margin in our time and our schedule too. And both of those go hand in hand, especially in a service-based business where it's so unpredictable. You have to have margin in your life to handle those things. And when you don't, you really see those cracks. We often view our busy times as a stress test period of, okay, we just went through spring break. It was insane. Everyone's tired. We stress tested our business. How did we do? What held up? What didn't hold up? Did we always ask, did we still have our margin to take on people? And the answer is we're getting better at saying yes, right? We still had extra capacity. And that's a sign to us that we are still meeting all of our other goals because of pricing and route planning and all this stuff. And not being so swamped that it's going to break us or break our team, our employees, because we want to make sure that everybody has balance, has good things in their life. And we should have that too. When we don't, just bad things always happen.
Exactly. And, that's part of, I think of, I'm an employee to my business. And would I want to work for a boss that didn't respect me or my time or always ran me ragged and that kind of a thing? And, that goes back to, where do I want to go with the business? And I'm looking at expanding, and I don't know yet what the universe has in store for me, but I'm planning for all the possibilities that it could throw next at me. Whether that's going to be a brick and mortar boarding facility, and do boarding and daycare. It could be a house, that I buy a house that does the business and does pet sitting, boarding, daycare, that kind of a thing. I will still have the pet sitting in the clients' homes. It could be that I acquire a mobile groomer or a grooming business. That's why I loved that I did pet services as my business name, because it can be anything to do with pets. And so I am stockpiling money again. I'm letting the universe know that I'm going to be ready for it. I'm listening to podcasts and reading in forums and seeing all the things that people are, how do I tell my clients this? Or how do I keep my clients from doing that? And going, okay, I need to make an SOP for that. So from the get-go, when the boarding or the grooming or whatever comes on, we already have a policy and procedure ready for how we're not going to let that happen. Because we see common threads, and it can be prevented if we're being proactive instead of reactive.
Well, is that planning, like, where is that coming from? Is that just a new desire? Is that something you're looking for, something new in your business? You're seeing a need for your clients? Because that is, you're going, okay, I'm running a business. I'm doing well in this business. Now, but I've got some other thoughts coming in. What kind of things are you kind of walking through in your thought process behind that expansion or newness that you're looking for?
I like challenges. I like having goals. I like achieving goals. My first thought there was, life is getting too easy, so let's throw some chaos at it. When we talked last time, I said I was never having employees. And I don't know that I said never. I said I wasn't hiring. I wasn't planning on hiring. I was planning on being solo. And I do feel like I've got this down. And so now do I want to, in the state of the world that we're in right now, there's a lot of people that are nervous about things. And so is it a time where I'm going to be able to acquire a business and help keep people have jobs, help people keep their jobs, whatever that may be? And some of these hobby or side gig sitters, if they're not able to do things in what I would consider the professional way of having insurance and all of these things, but they're really good at the pet sitting part, maybe they would be a really good employee. Maybe they're not a good quote unquote business person, but they're great with the pets and they're willing to take directions and everything. Maybe they would be a good employee. And then I can step back from my visits and focus more on whatever my new adventure is going to be. It hasn't been determined yet, but when the universe drops it in my lap, I want to be ready for it. And I think that's something that, when I made my goal in 2019, it was 5 years, and 21 it happened, but I was ready for it. And so I think that's where I'm at right now is I don't know what I'm going to be ready for yet, but I will be ready.
How are you finding, I know we just talked about having space and time and margin in our days, but doing that kind of long-term planning or dreaming and writing and all that stuff, how are you finding time to still do that while also operating your business and not overloading yourself with too much?
I don't know. Okay. AI is a beautiful thing. ChatGPT is a beautiful thing. Yeah. It has helped me a lot this year in streamlining, because I also do dog training. And I specialize more in the pets that maybe they're newly adopted, maybe they've been around for a while or whatnot, but the pets that there's just some chaos in a home, and we need to make sure that everybody's happily living together.
Sure.
And that comes more from my rescue side of how do I keep dogs and cats out of the shelters and out of rescues and keep them in the homes, because the rescues are overwhelmed. And so just kind of teaching the humans how to work with their animals and what their dogs need. And then, teaching the dogs to have some manners and everything. So ChatGPT has been very helpful with me in that part of the business, and helping me to figure out, how do I politely say, that's not going to work for me. You asked me to do something that's not going to happen, but this is what I can do instead. Because I don't like to tell somebody no flat out. No is a complete sentence, but there's often some piece of knowledge that I have, whether I can help them still, but in a different way than what they're asking, that maybe they didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Or I can refer them to somebody who can help them. So, how to kind of course correct. I can't do what you're asking, but I can do this instead in a polite way. I tend to be very blunt and very fact driven. And so ChatGPT has helped soften things up. I spit into it. Here's what I want to say. Can you make this sound professional, please? And it does a great job. So doing that helps. But sometimes just writing stuff down and physical pen and paper, writing stuff down. I have my notebook that is all my ideas. And then I go back and look and I'm like, whatever happened to that idea? Is that something that's viable right now? And just putting it all on paper and then reviewing it and looking at it, setting my monthly goals of what I want to do, personal, business, rescue, whatever. And then I think one thing that at the end of every week on Fridays, I have a jar that I put a Post-it note in, and I write what good things happened this week that I was a part of. And whether I made them happen or a client said something that was really impactful to me or whatever. And then at the end of each year, I dump the jar, and that's how I spend New Year's Eve or New Year's Day and look at my year in review. And, all the highlights, because we tend to forget all the good things. We can hold on to grudges for years, or bad things for years, but we tend to forget. So if every week you have it in your mind to write down the good things that happened in the last 7 days, and then put it in a jar, you'd be surprised how far you've come in a year when you look back and you're like, I thought that was like years ago, and that was only 6 months ago, because I do date them. Okay. And so anytime I do a change in the business that I'm like, well, I just upped my prices, or I booked these X amount of clients or whatever. Then when I look back, I'm like, gosh, that feels like longer than 6 months ago. Or, oh, it's only been 6 months that I've been doing this, so that's a way to positive see the impact that you're doing in whatever, whether it's personal or business or whatever, and keep you going. It's a really good thing. If you're having a bad day, it's good to go look in a jar too. And, it's a good pump me up, of the good impact and not focus on the negatives. Whatever we focus on will come true. So if we're like, why do I keep getting clients that do this? You're going to keep getting clients that do that. So instead, think of how do I get better clients that do this instead, and focus on that. And then those clients will come.
Well, I want to go back to something you mentioned about what you're working on. You're doing a lot of writing. You mentioned how some of that's, including SOPs for things that, are services and things that you haven't even added to or gone into yet. Why was that important for you to get to that point of writing down policies or procedures and stuff? And how has that helped you, or what has that done as far as helping you plan and see your options?
Yeah, when the opportunity presents itself, whether it's another business owner retiring or moving or whatever that needs to sell their business or whatever, or I just go open up a business because I haven't found one yet that I want to acquire. I want to be ready to hit the ground running and make it smooth and easy. And maybe if I'm taking over a business, then I can look at their SOPs and go, oh yeah, we've got some changes to make. Or, okay, how do we merge these two together? They've got some really good things. I've got some things. How do we merge them together with the least amount of impact on their employees? The last thing I want to do is come in and totally disrupt everything. We want to be the best that the pets and their parents are looking for. So having it all planned out and having a plan helps. Me having it all written down gives me the ability to look back when I had a really good idea. If I don't write it down, it's going to be gone forever. So having it all in a notebook, I don't have to remember which spreadsheet or which email or whatever. I've just got this notebook of ideas that I can refer back to and read. And if I wonder, what do I need to work on? Then I can go back to the list of business ideas and, oh, I can do that right now. I've got the mental capacity and the free time. Let's go see what we can do to move that forward.
Right. Well, and it helps you see like there's that progression. And then there's also I have just found the more I put things down pen to paper or typing, the more it becomes concrete. And then I'm better at processing it too. Because I don't know about you, Rachelle, I have written down sentences and gone, that sounded a whole lot better in my head. Oh no, let me just put that right back.
Hope nobody reads this.
Yes, exactly. You're like,
when my future self reads this, they're going to be like, whoa, okay.
So it is, I think it's good to have that space again in our day where we can think forward and we can daydream a little bit and future cast or whatever, because it helps keeps us creative. And we never know when those ideas can be implemented or not. Sometimes they may just sit on shelf and collect dust, but at least we went through the thought process and put in that energy. That's going to help us the next time, or it's going to help us see more opportunities or know when something isn't going to work out, or we never know what's going to slide across our desk. So do we have some sense of how we would handle certain procedures? It's like what do people say? Like, you better have a plan for if you ever were to win the lottery. Like, just have a plan right now. Or what happened? I heard a friend who goes, "Yeah, I've got my 3 wishes for when the genie, when a genie pops out." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, I don't believe in genies, but if one does pop up, they're not taking advantage of me." It's just
right.
Being ready for those situations that come up really helps you run a better business, because you're thinking creatively and you're better able to take care of opportunities when they come across your plate.
Exactly, and like I said in the beginning, my business is not at all what I planned out for.
Sure.
When I made my 5-year plan, it looks nothing like what my plan was going to be. So having the open-mindedness to be receptive to whatever is coming my way. And then, yes, I am one that I like to have a plan and I like to have a step-by-step. So if I have all that now, even though I don't need it, it'll be easier for me to process through and accept the opportunity when it comes and not possibly miss it.
Right.
Because I already feel like I've been working on this. Yeah, I can do that.
Well, so I know we've been talking about this mindset of becoming more business oriented, setting those good boundaries. Let's say somebody they're listening to this podcast and they're going, I've realized I'm not treating what I'm doing as a business. I'm not in this good mindset. I'm not doing these things. What's a first step you'd tell somebody to take if they're there?
I mean, if you are running a business, but you didn't realize, you just woke up one day and went, hey, I am apparently a business owner. Great that now you recognize it, and go find a mentor. Like I was saying earlier, SCORE or your chamber can help, but educate yourself. Embrace that you're a business owner. It is a beautiful thing and it comes with a lot of freedoms, but you have to be educated, and then you can work on being proactive instead of reactive, and you can start working on confidence. I know imposter syndrome seems to be a big thing, and you're already doing the thing, so you shouldn't have imposter syndrome. You're already doing it, and you're really good at it. So embrace that and figure out what your strengths are and play on your strengths, and then find somebody who can help you with the things that are not your strengths, your areas of opportunity. if that's in business, working behind the scenes and promoting, everybody has a different way of doing it. There's no right way. There's really no wrong way. If you just put it out there that you need help, people will come find you and they will help you. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. One thing that isn't in all of us, as I think as humans, is the desire and need to help others. So if you put it out there, I need help, people will help you. They will point you in the right direction. If you ask somebody, can I ask you one question that is most impactful for your small business? Most people will give you the time to ask one question. So figure out what those questions are that you need help with, and we can get you answers. People will answer them for you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We were all beginners at one point. We all had to crawl before we could walk, before we could run. Some of us have decided we don't want to run. There's different, everyone's different in different parts of their business. So there's plenty of people to help. It's not bad to ask for help. So I would do that. I would get educated on how to run a business and what things do you need to work on. And that could be that you've got to sit down and take some time and just really internalize that. It could be that you need to write down, what are all the things you hate about your business? What would you get rid of if you could? And then figure out how to action plan it, and what's going on. If you don't know how, somebody else will be able to help you to see, what if you did it this way? What if you did it that way? And just trial and error. If you do this and it doesn't work, great. We're one step closer to the thing that does. It's nothing personal. Failure is just another learning step. It's not a big deal. As long as the pets are safe and loved and cared for, all the stuff behind the scenes, you can learn.
I love that. Rachelle, I really want to thank you for coming on the show today and encouraging us to set those good boundaries and to put on that business owner mindset and to really step into that and embrace it, like you said, because we're already doing it, and we can get that education and network and get that help that we need as well. For those who want to follow along with you and or catch up and see how things are going, how best can people get in touch?
So you can follow the business page is Loving Arms Pet Services on Facebook. That's the only platform I'm on. I don't want to make time for the other stuff. I probably have the time. I just don't want to make it. I have more important things to do. And Loving Arms Pet Services at gmail.com. I think actually it's Loving Arms Pet Services KC at gmail.com. Because I think I did put the KC in case I expanded to other markets to differentiate. I had all kinds of
more forward thinking. I love it.
You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. But yeah, you can email me there, and then lapskc.com is the website. Cool.
Well, I'll have all those links in the show notes so people can get connected with you right there. Rachelle, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to reconnect, catch up, and have you share this today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me again.
I will defend my piece before I defend my pricing. I'm not joking when I say that I have that written down in several places now after my conversation with Rachelle. Let that sink in. I will defend my piece before I defend my pricing. Oftentimes we feel pressure to justify our rates. But what if we stopped negotiating our worth and instead stood firm on what gives us peace, freedom, and sustainability? Whether that is growing a team, whether that is setting boundaries as a solo business owner, this is what Rachelle is talking about here. We have to have and come forward with a business mindset, set firm boundaries, and intentional planning to help build a fulfilling and resilient career. We want to thank today's sponsors, our friends at Time to Pet and Pet Perennials, for making this show possible. And we really want to thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.